All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Gallery with Laura Ali. I am your host, Laura Ali. Thank you guys so much for joining. I have been um, not really on a hiatus, but I was working out technical stuff. I was on vacation for a bit, but I'm back and I want to get into the Nancy Brophy trial. I want to finish out one of the first videos I actually posted, which was um, well, actually, not one of the first videos I posted. One of the first videos I recorded, but I recently posted. Um, and this kind of goes through Nancy Brophy's cross examination. This is day 22 of the morning session of the cross examination. So the cross examination happens on day 21 in the afternoon. I think the prosecution is just kind of he's getting warmed up, you know? He gets warmed up on day 21 in the afternoon session. By day 22, you can't mess with him, okay? So let's get into that and we are going to hopefully do it. I was going to break it down into three episodes because it is a lot to go through, but I'm going to put this on 1.5, I think the speed is. Gonna put it on 1.5 and then try to get through it a little bit quicker because there's a lot of stuff I actually want to get into and I want to get that momentum going. So bear with me, guys. I do love Nancy Brophy and I wish I could spend like 8 hours on it because I've watched this testimony multiple times, but I think this is the best way to go about it. So let's get into it, guys. So the cross examination begins around the 13th um, minute of day 22, in case anyone's looking for it. Okay, so the judge, I love this judge's voice. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video, but his voice is so soothing. So let's get into it now. Oh, wait. Sorry. Observation.
June 2nd, that you kind of figured what was going on based on how people were reacting around you. But it is true that nobody actually told you that it was Dan that had been killed until Detective Posey, correct?
Yes.
And that was during that interview.
No one told her. No one told her
But
that it
you
was
stated
Dan.
that Karen
Killed,
called you
but
before
she
you went
knew.
into that interview,
Yes.
Dan's mother, Karen,
Yes.
and that you told her that it was Dan and that he was dead,
Yes.
based on the fact that you thought that Dan had been killed.
It was more than think.
But you hadn't been told.
I had not been told, but I had not heard from him. All of his friends avoided looking at me. And the police officers knew who I was before I got there. And one police officer hugged me. This is not good news I'm going to hear.
Okay, I just want to say this really quick. So I'm sorry, Nancy, but you telling Dan Brophy's mother that he could be dead based on you thinking he was dead? Like, that's insane. And honestly, this is something that I've noticed. First of all, number one, I think criminals or murderers or people that have committed crimes like this, they enjoy being the one to tell people about it. Like if it's like breaking news, like, oh, did you hear like this house burned down and they're the arsonist? Or like, like did you hear this place got robbed and they were the thief? Um I'm telling you, just keep your mouth shut. I mean, I'm glad she did tell, obviously. I mean, she did make these mistakes, but it's just like, it's just so silly. It's the silliest things. Like you plan out this whole intricate murder and then you you mess it up with just wanting to talk too much, you know? So, But anyway, um, okay, let's get back into it. I'm gonna speed it up actually a little more because I think it's on.
What if you were wrong?
Then I would have called Karen and said, happy days, I was wrong. And Karen and I would have celebrated, and we would have laughed, and we would have had family jokes about this for 20 years, and it would have been much, much better than it
That
turned
wouldn't
out.
have been funny. I don't think that's funny. I don't
Say
know
you
a lot
bought
of
this
people that
ghost
think
gun
that's
build
funny.
kit and you realized you couldn't put it together.
No, I realized it was more intricate. I didn't realize I couldn't put it together. It was more intricate than I thought it would be.
Okay, based on what?
Based
This
upon the
is
fact
also another good part. I love the prosecution's cross-examination strategy because he does this thing of kind of jumping around and it keeps Nancy on her toes. She's not able to stay in a linear path of like, okay, we're talking about this, I'll focus on this. He's like jumping around. So you told so and so like this, and then, oh, so what about the ghost gun? Did you know how to put it together? Are you familiar with it? And she's saying that she never said that she didn't know. She just saying it was it was very intricate. But yeah, okay, we're gonna see about that.
that it was supposed to be a few parts, and I thought it was a few too many parts.
What steps did you take to actually try to build it?
I didn't take any because I wasn't ready to write that story yet.
You decided to write that story months prior.
Yes,
She didn't take any steps.
But you
Keep
weren't
that
ready to
in
start.
mind.
that's right.
So what was the need to buy the gun at that point?
I was celebrating. It was Christmas.
Right. But what was the need to buy the gun if you weren't writing the story yet?
What was the need?
Mr. Overstreet, we have had testimony upon testimony upon testimony about the fact Dan was a collector. Dan wasn't a collector by himself. I had my little piles of stuff.
Well, now she's a collector too.
What I found, what I have found in life is if you see something you want it, you can afford it, buy it now, because circling back for it, it may or may not be there.
And so now you're a gun collector?
No, now I have a piece of writing information research.
She's a gun collector, guys. She's a gun collector. She just said it
Did you-
herself. She's a gun collector. And I love how the prosecution just like casually, he throws these things out so casually. Oh, so you're a gun collector? Okay. Noted.
You said you didn't take any steps to try to build this gun.
I did not.
And I want to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 25.
She took no steps. No
Do you-
steps
first of
to
all, do you
build this
recognize
gun.
Yes.
You recognize all the parts in here?
Well, you're further away than I would say, but certainly it looks like all the parts are there.
Is this what it looked like when you got it?
Yes,
Approximately.
approximately.
Okay. And you saw this part in the kit.
I did.
Was there anything you needed to do to this to make it functional?
I haven't gotten that deep into this gun. I'm not sure how to answer that question because the answer is I don't know.
Was there anything in the instructions or anything you saw online that made
She
you
didn't-
manipulate this part?
And once again, I go back to I don't know because there are a slew of parts. You know, the only thing I can attribute it to is when you buy an IKEA thing, there are pieces that come fairly close together. And that isn't where you celebrate. You celebrate the little bags of all, and you don't celebrate the little bag. Let me say this again for it makes sense. You're delighted to see pieces more or less together. All the little parts, you're less delighted. to
She's
see.
frazzled, guys. She's frazzled because she can't although it's on like it's sped up, like she has like a moment of like, let me say this so it makes sense because she's like completely thrown off by these questions. And I love how the prosecution is really going in to say, have you played with it? Like, this is the Ghost Guy kit, but have you done anything to put this together? She's adamantly no, because she wasn't writing. She was not writing, right? Right? See.
Is why you never even opened these little baggies?
I wasn't ready to start yet. I didn't want to misplace.
Okay. And so you made no attempts to try to build it. You didn't do any further research because you weren't ready to write this story?
That's right.
Thank you.
She wasn't ready to write the story. The defense attorney, oh my God, the prosecution is really honing in on that and really digging into. So, you
The
sure?
defense attorney stated in opening that you knew, or that you thought you knew that Nathaniel had previously done a build kit.
Yes.
You knew that, or thought that at least.
I thought he had said that, and I believed him.
When you had this story to do a gun build kit, and you actually went and purchased a gun build kit, you didn't ever talk to Nathaniel about his experience with the build kit.
No, and that wouldn't have been where I would have gone with that. Where I would have gone first would be to my father-in-law, Jack, who I knew had every equipment in the world and could help me drill out the parts that needed to be drilled out.
Okay, but you didn't do that either.
No, because I wasn't ready to start yet.
How did you know
wasn't
you needed a
ready.
drill press?
Because it was on one of the videos.
One of the videos.
Uh-huh.
How many did you watch?
I don't know.
Why were you watching videos if you weren't writing the story yet?
I was watching videos to see how to put it together.
But I thought you weren't ready to put it together.
I'm not ready to put it together, but that doesn't mean I'm not researching what I have to do to get it ready to be put together.
Okay, so now you're doing research online.
We have stated previously, and I am not backing down from that, that I investigated. One of my friends has a sign over her desk that says only James Michener gets to use all his research. You research everything to maybe come up with 6 sentences in a book that will make the book more realistic. So yeah, I do tons of research.
You do a lot of research.
I do.
So I'm gonna pause it really
So I'm
quick.
just having a hard time having that make sense with what you said about planning and preparing.
Oh my God.
Dan was a better planner than I was.
Hang on, let me ask you a question.
I'm so sorry.
You said yesterday that you're not a planner. Did you say?
But I did say that, but let me put a caveat on that. I am not a planner in the initial stages the way Dan was. But you know, I rarely go into anything willy-nilly, and I rarely do anything that I don't complete.
States Exhibit 82 shows that you were doing some of your research,
This is annoying.
maybe, on February 1st. You were searching for gun shops at that time.
I'm not sure what State Exhibit 82 is.
Okay, it was your some of your internet history.
Okay.
It was showed to you yesterday by your counsel and asked to you by your counsel about February 1st, and you're searching for gun shops in Portland.
Okay. Goodness, I just had like a weird mouse glitch happen. I- Oh God, it's heck. Okay. Anyway, that just threw me off. But anyway, so she was saying clearly that she did previously she said that she's not a researcher, she's more impulsive, she doesn't, that's why she just kind of bought the gun on a whim. She just, she's impulsive, she doesn't need to do a whole bunch of research and do all this. And then today she's saying that she was doing all this research for the gun, okay, and all this research had to happen, right? Because she's researching for the gun, and she needs to know when she's ready to start building this gun kit and putting it all together. So it is very funny how I just love the prosecution here. Okay, back to it.
What were you searching for?
That was different. I wasn't researching that. When I'm looking for gun shops in Portland, it was not for gun pieces. At this point, it's on a whole different conversation. That's writing, and that's a little cubicle in and of itself in my life. What Dan and I were talking about was, did we need to own a gun at this point? And while we've been adamant, anti-gun people for a long time, the last 3 or 4 years had changed how we felt about that. And we were discussing it and had been discussing it for well over a year.
So as what was described yesterday as a left-leaning individual,
Yes.
your response to gun violence in the country was to buy a gun.
In 2017, one of the memes of the left was, if we continue to be anti-guns, was that mean that everybody in the country who will own a gun are the people on the left? And it was a serious concern. Lots and lots and lots of people were changing their ideas about gun ownership because the country had become so diversified.
Well, Ms. Brophy, I appreciate the meme as well and what other people's opinions might be, but I'm asking your position as somebody who is so anti-gun, in fact, that your law enforcement husband wasn't allowed to have a gun in the house.
No.
Hang on.
Sorry.
So anti-gun. But your response to gun violence increasing in this country was to buy a gun yourself. Yes or no?
Yes or
Yes,
no,
yes,
Nancy? Yes, with the caveat.
At what point,
And
from the time you received this ghost gun,
just looking at her attorney
June
now.
2nd, did you decide that you were not going to use it?
That we're speaking now of the gun that we bought at the gun show.
No.
Oh, all right. Ask me the question again, please.
This ghost gun that I just showed
Right.
you, what point did you decide you were not going to use it?
I never decided I was not going to use it.
Is that why you kept it?
I kept it because eventually I was going to put it together and write the story.
And you decided the way to keep it would be to put it in a box with scarves and purses and store it in storage.
No. What I decided was to store it away until I reached the point that I would do it, but I was trying to get moved at that point. Certainly there was, I didn't see another big option there, and I even marked the box because at any point I expected the police to come back to me and say things like, does Dan have a computer? Do you all have a computer? Can we look at any of this? Do you all have anything else? So I marked it so I could find it again. That was for the police benefit. That wasn't for mine.
Oh, oh.
I marked the box that I packed that it had a gun kit in it because I thought sooner or later the police are going to come back to me, and the police never once talked to me after that.
The prosecution's about to have like his brain about to explode because the fact that she's up here saying that she packed away the ghost gun kit in a box with scarves and purses, put like um ghost gun or like GG, right? Ghost gun, yeah, ghost gun abbreviated, and she did that for the police's benefit, in case they needed it, in case they were curious about it. The prosecution's about to lose his mind right now.
Did you literally just say that was for the police's benefit?
That's literally what I said. I marked the box for the police's benefit so that I could find it again when the police came back.
For what?
Well, I sort of thought that if the police didn't find something, they would want to come back and re-interview, and I would be able to show them things. I thought the fact that all they had was Dan's phone and not a computer from us might not, they may have reached a dead end and said, Mrs. Brophy, is there anything you can give us that would help? Any electronic equipment, anything else? So I was kind of in my mind making a list. At that point, silly me, since I believed I didn't kill my husband, I didn't think I was a serious suspect.
Despite you telling people that you were.
I told people I was a suspect because it's all his wife.
So we lost me there for a minute. Let's circle back. You said something about computers.
Right.
I didn't ask anything about computers. I'm asking about a gun.
You're asking why I was marking things for the police.
I did not ask you that.
Okay.
I think maybe that's where I got a little lost.
Okay.
You said that you marked that box for the police benefit.
Mhm.
Okay. So you thought that was important to the police, that they might want this gun kit.
Right.
I had a hard time believing that I would be interviewed by the police for 45 minutes. We would have a brief conversation on the telephone, and I would never hear from them again until the case was solved. I thought for sure the police would come back and say, is there anything else you've got that could help us? And that would have included the gun kit.
Let's make this easy. What is the relevance of this gun kit to the police?
None, but we had it. You know, I figured they'd ask for it sooner or later.
Why?
Why would the police ask you for a gun kit? They don't know that you won't. I'm failing to understand what your rationale was for making this available to the police. You think it's so important to them that at some point they're going to come asking for it, but you don't call them.
I figured the police were doing the police job the way the police did it. That they probably did not need, I will be the first to tell you, I got my detective's license on TV. And I can guarantee you I had ideas on how this case should be on. But I sort of figured the police had more experience and they were the ones in charge.
So you think you have relevant evidence
But
to
you
a
didn't tell them
murder
about it.
investigation, and you don't think you should mention it to the police.
How is a gun kit? Even though I marked it, how is a gun kit relative evidence?
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you because I don't think it is because it's never been put together.
Then why would you mark it for the police?
Because I figured the police would come back and want to know.
What? The logic. The
What else did
logic.
you think was relevant to the police investigation that you marked and did not share with them?
Attorney, like,
I thought that they would eventually want to know about the computers. They thought they would eventually want to go through the computers and see what they
my
could,
gosh.
find, if anything, that would help them.
And did you give them a computer that belonged to Dan?
No, we had a computer. They never asked for it. But in my mind, I knew they would eventually, if they didn't solve the case by somebody coming in and confessing, they would eventually come back and say, can we see your computer? My computers weren't packed because I thought they were relevant to the police if the police wanted to go in that direction.
Well, that's not exactly true, right? I mean, you had a computer in storage.
No, I had a computer in a box in one room and a computer by the bed in another room. That's not in storage.
Right, one in a box in your room. What about the one that was in the storage unit?
There was not a computer in
So
storage.
there wasn't a laptop in the storage unit?
There was not.
Okay.
there was
What your
zero.
testimony, what your guys' testimony
Interesting.
was, they found the computer in a bedroom and they found the computer in a box in the other, in the, what had been the office.
And you would agree then that the stuff that was found on the computer that has been shown here in court was on the computer that was packed away in a box?
I think that's how they did it, but you know, it were the two computers.
Why did you get a new computer in March of 2018?
When you open the computer, the old computer, you can't read the screen because it's become lines across it.
So you did all your research for all these guns on one computer, you packed it away and put it in a box in the closet, and then you got a new computer, is that right?
I get a new computer every year. I take a computer with me when I go out to the fields, I beat a computer up. I buy a fairly inexpensive computer because I know I'm replacing it the next year.
And you thought the police would want that, but you didn't give it to them.
Get new
The
computers.
police never contacted me again. I assumed that they were doing their job and didn't want my interference.
So you told your friends in this car ride, that was in February, right?
To one of them, yes,
The one where you're telling Darla Rukaba about the fact that you bought this gun kit?
yes.
And at that point, you had already bought State's Exhibit 26, the full gun from the gun show, correct?
If I hadn't bought it, I was close to buying it. I'm not sure the exact date of the car ride in February.
In fact, you had not only bought this gun during that car ride, but you were actively bidding on the slide and barrel. Isn't that right?
Yes, probably. If it was after the 15th of February that we did this.
And we'll get to the slide and barrel in a minute, but your testimony and what your defense has asserted in their opening statements was that you bought that slide and barrel for writing.
That's true.
But you didn't tell your friends about the slide and barrel.
I was more on the story than I was on the gun kit.
Right. You would agree that you never told law enforcement that you owned this ghost gun kit.
No, because this ghost gun kit, despite the fact you refer to it as a weapon on a regular basis, is not a weapon unless I hit somebody over the head with a case. There's nothing about that gun kit that's a gun, except that if you spend a few hours and put it together, it could be a gun. But I've got eggs and flour in my pantry, and that's not an omelet either until you put it together.
What?
And you would agree that you also never told the police about the slide and barrel
It's in
that
flour.
you purchased on eBay.
Mr. Overstreet, when I talked to the police in June, they asked me specific questions. My husband had just died. The fact that I was coherent at all is a miracle. The fact that they never came back to me after that for a follow-up interview, I thought was shocking. You know, I thought this was on the police. This wasn't.
So I think Nancy wanted, like, she was disappointed the police didn't have to investigate this more and like turn it into a bigger investigation because it was pretty much like once they saw her on the video, they pretty much knew it was her and just had to build the case around that. But I think she was expecting for this to be some long drawn out investigation, a real who done it, and I think she was banking on that and prepared to spiral all these stories and uh, possibilities to the police, and that never happened. So I think that really threw her off, and she clearly is upset that that did not happen, which is like ridiculous. Like she thinks, oh, I got my detective's license on TV. Like I don't know anything, but at the same time, you do think you know something because you write all these crime fiction novels. It's a joke.
Me. The police said, we're handling this. You just go home and rest. You go home and take it one day at a time, you know. And they never contacted me again, except for the things that they asked me for, which was Dan's schedule. I got that to them and I was having trouble with their email, but I did what I was asked to do.
Are you declining to answer my question?
Perhaps not. What was your question?
That was a lengthy answer for not remembering my question.
Well, I go off on tangents.
So I asked you, is it true that you did not tell the police about the sliding barrel?
It is true. I did not tell the police about the sliding barrel.
The sliding barrel that would fit perfectly on the gun show gun that you purchased.
The sliding barrel that I was using for research for my writing, I did not tell them about that.
You can answer that question?
I did. I said I did not tell them.
Would you agree that it fit on the gun that you bought from the gun
It
shop?
was the same thing. It could have been interchanged, yes.
So although you own, well, we'll get to that in just a second.
We'll get to
When
that.
exactly did you put the ghost gun in storage?
Somewhere between June 2nd and September 5th when I was arrested. I have no idea.
How big was your property?
We had half an acre.
Half an acre. You're sure of that?
I'm positive of that.
Got some conflicting testimonies you might remember.
Yes, but it was testimony from a woman who lived in an apartment who thought any amount of lawn was going to be huge.
So you had a half an acre.
Yes.
And it's true that lot behind your house was not 5 acres, right? It was actually just about an acre.
Talking
It could have
crap
been
on
slightly
the
larger.
lady.
I think I've seen the plot, something like 1.3, but that's been a long time ago and I could be wrong.
You talked about the interview with the police and how that was, you just found out your husband died and it's very hard to remember everything he talked about in there. But you do recall that you didn't have any trouble telling them about the firearm that you had purchased at the gun show, correct? In fact, you told them the whole story about why and how you purchased the gun.
Detective Merrill said, does Dan have any guns? Dan owns half a block. I told him about the full block. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, although I thought listening to that sentence, it came out snotty, which wasn't really the way I wanted it to come out. But what I will tell you is he asked me, I answered him the best way I knew how.
Why didn't you just say, yes, we have a gun?
I was trying to be helpful to the police at this point so they would know what was going on. At this point, I thought they were going to find my husband's killer. I didn't think they were going to say, let's look at the one person who didn't kill him.
But instead of just answering, yes, we have a gun and it's at home, you actually made sure to give them a full story as to how and why you purchased that gun.
How and why?
So you are having trouble keeping me quiet now because I tell stories as I'm talking to you. Do you think it's less than that with the police when I'm upset? This is how I talk. I tell full stories to illustrate what I'm saying.
Even though you were just informed of your husband's murder.
Well, apparently it didn't make me quieter. It just made me more upset.
And you paid cash for that gun?
Yes, we did.
Your attorney made a big deal out of you purchasing things with your debit card or credit card.
Right?
Why would you pay cash at the gun show?
Well, actually, that was Dan's
Cash
idea.
money.
And when we talked about it,
Cash
what have you,
money,
he said, here's
boo-boo.
$400 in cash. You get cash from your thing. So I went on Dan's idea.
Nah.
Didn't you actually withdraw the $400?
I withdrew the $400, but it was, he gave me $400 in addition. And
Did
he gave
he?
me cash.
Okay, I don't know that I quite understand that. Didn't you withdraw $400 from your on-point account?
After he had given me the first 400
How did he give you 400?
in cash.
Where did that come from?
Dan has cash at the house. Dan operates a cash business. He sells eggs. He sells crap on the cart. He
Crap.
sells, he operates with a lot of cash.
Okay, so he gave you, we'll talk about that too.
He doesn't respect him.
So he gives you $400. You then go to on-point and withdraw $400. So you have $800 cash.
I do.
What did you do with the remaining 300?
Well, it wasn't remaining 300. As they were taking the gun apart to show me how it worked, they sold me, but I didn't have a receipt on this, they sold me some oil that they thought I was going to need. And in addition, I had bought a book on Glocks in general. So what did I do with
Bought a book
the
on
probably
Glocks.
200 plus, but not much plus? I don't know. Maybe I gave part back to Dan. That was a long time ago.
She didn't give nothing back to Dan.
I have no memory of what I did with it.
You didn't put it back in your bank account?
Maybe Dan and I went out to dinner. Who knows? But I could have just as easily given it back to Dan.
No, she wouldn't have.
Told detectives, and I believe you testified to this as well, that you got home with that gun and looked at it.
It's amazing how
It
this
was heavy,
judge allows the
ugly, some other maybe descriptive terms you use. I'm not quite sure right now.
no other courtroom.
But you
You have to
realize
say
you didn't want it.
yes
You
or
and Dan both
no.
realized you didn't want it.
I think we were both ambivalent about it still. This didn't really solve the problem, but I think we went back and forth for months before we bought it and for weeks after we bought it.
Okay, so you didn't decide you didn't want it that day.
That's right.
Got home, you took it. Did you handle it?
Oh, sure. We both did.
What did you do to handle it?
Oh, they handled it.
Well,
Okay.
we pulled it out and we looked at it. And I mean, how would I have known it was heavy if I hadn't held it? You know,
Okay, let's see.
and
You held
somebody
it.
testified earlier that there were 2 little dark hairs that were in the slide. In our house, who had 2 little short dark hairs was not me. That would have been Dan. He handled it.
Did you see him handle it?
Yeah, it was right there.
What did he do?
He looked at it, he picked it up, he messed with it. He pointed it toward the backyard, so, even though it had no bullets in it. I don't recall, we had a great conversation about it, but he definitely handled it.
Did you ever remove the slide and barrel?
Oh, sure, I played with it.
Oh, you did remove the slide and barrel.
Sure.
Oh,
I didn't think that was a secret.
Well, you didn't tell the police that.
The police didn't ask me whether I'd removed the sliding barrel.
You told the police that you got it home and that you realized how much you didn't want it and you put it away and never touched it again. Do you remember that?
I could have said that, but I was upset at the time, so that was probably an exaggeration. I handled the gun,
okay.
I may not have loved it, but I was still curious about it.
Admissions.
And keep in mind, I'm writing a story about a gun, and I need to research guns so I can have it. But yes, I didn't, I touched the gun.
Yeah. And so your testimony today, after hearing all the testimony and seeing all the evidence on the screen, your testimony today is that you have removed that slide and barrel.
I have.
So you know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard, right?
Oh, it's terribly hard. I broke 2 nails doing it. Don't believe them when they say it's not that
Why
hard.
are you
can't just
removing
whip it
the
off.
slide and
You have to
barrel?
hold the gun a certain way. You have to pull it back. I broke 2 nails pulling it back, and I thought this isn't any fun. And you would be shocked at how hard it is to do. You've handled guns all your life. I'm sure.
It's crazy how upset she is about breaking her 2 nails. Like you could see the anger and like frustration she has about breaking those 2 nails and like the visceral reaction she has in that moment because she actually probably did break 2 nails messing around with it. And it's so genuine and so like frustrated, like the look that she gives more than when she talks about Dan's murder. Like when she talks about his murder, like she's just like, yeah, it happened, but I broke 2 nails. Can you believe this? Like the audacity, like it was so hard. And she knows she's never admitted that before. She slipped up in terms of admitting it, or maybe that's part of her strategy to say, I'm going to admit this. And because I believe they had testimony saying that it had to be manipulated in some way. So, the slide and barrel. So she she's setting herself up to have more of an excuse, but I don't think so. I think she actually slipped up. I don't think she's that smart, honestly.
Okay, but I can tell you, for me, it was not.
So you remove the slide and barrel.
Yes.
You can see that it's nearly
And
identical.
she's not
to
ready to
slide
write the
barrel.
book, but she's removing the slide and barrel.
I'd have to look at both of them now, but I would say yes.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, we can look at it. Okay.
Hey, let's do that. Let's look at both of these.
I'm not going to hand these to you. I'm just going to show them to you.
Yes.
You agree that these look nearly identical.
I would agree that they look identical, but they obviously are not. One of them is quite a bit longer
I
than the
love
other one,
this.
Quite a bit longer.
This is the ghost gun.
which makes them not identical. When you're circling the little things on, would find 5 things in this picture that aren't identical, you would circle that.
Right. This one is slightly shorter.
Yes?
19 ghost gun.
Oh, the slide and
What else
barrel.
is not identical about this gun?
Well,
Slide barrel.
one of them obviously has a zip tie on it, but they are similar, is what I would
He
say,
is
but they are
playing
not identical.
Can you see the back?
Yes? I agree they're similar.
Can you see the top?
I agree they're similar.
I'm not going to point this at you, but can you see the barrel?
I can.
Okay. Anything about this side that is not exactly the same?
I would ask you this, as you're demonstrating this, does it fit on the other gun? No. Does that make it not identical? Yes.
You know it didn't fit, right?
I knew it didn't fit because I knew that I had to look on blocks, and in order for a block to work, it had to work the right way.
You knew it didn't fit, and then you bought a slide barrel.
Had to
that
work
fit
the
it.
right way.
Gunshot
What
gun,
does
right?
that mean?
No, I bought a sliding barrel that was the same one. I could have easily bought one that fit the ghost gun, but I did not. I bought this one.
Why
You
would you
knew
buy
it
another
didn't
slide barrel
fit.
for the ghost gun when you couldn't build it? You already own it. You own
Why?
this piece.
Why? Right.
You own
Why?
Yes?
So why would
Why do you
buy
need another one?
If the trigger had been available, I would have bought a trigger. I'm telling you, I was fascinated with gun pieces at that point because I was writing a story on gun pieces and making it into a gun.
There's a trigger in this kit.
Yes, and I would have bought another one if I'd had it. I figured if I could construct them together the way the character would have, it would have worked fine.
But Ms. Brophy, you didn't buy other gun pieces. You bought a slide and barrel that would fit this gun.
That's true.
No other pieces did you buy.
No, but I wasn't finished shopping either.
She wasn't finished
You were-
shopping.
your counsel says this. I don't know if you believe it or agree with it, but I'm going to ask you. You needed to buy that slide and barrel because you were worried about taking this gun apart?
Yes.
Okay. But you just testified that you took the slide and barrel.
That's not taking the gun apart. We're talking about if we took the slide and barrel, the slide and barrel itself completely apart, could I put it back together and have a gun that wouldn't backfire on me and kill me?
Oh,
You know, and so
goodness.
the fact that when I said to Dan, I can take this gun, the real gun, not the kit plated gun, apart, and it'll help me do this. Dan said, no, 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 I've seen you in action. That's a mistake. Let's keep it together. We may have to sell it.
I'm not talking about taking the entire gun apart.
Okay?
I'm talking about the slide and barrel.
Yes.
The critical piece of information, as you know now, if you didn't know before this trial, you know now the slide and barrel is what is at issue, right?
Yes.
You keep talking about the gun and taking it apart, talking about the slide and barrel.
Mhm.
You have a gun complete, slide and barrel intact. You know how to remove it. In fact, you did.
Mhm.
You can manipulate the slide and barrel separate and apart from the rest of the gun.
Mhm.
But you chose to buy the exact same piece. Is that right? Of
Yes, but I've got a caveat on that too.
course. Go ahead.
What's the caveat?
The caveat on that was, I wasn't thinking, hey, this would work that way. I was thinking, because for me, the gun was the gun, the toy was the toy, the pieces were the toy.
I'm not talking about the ghost gun, Ms. Brophy.
We're talking about the difference between the slide and the barrel.
I'm not talking about the ghost gun.
Okay.
Not talking
I
about the
thought you
ghost
said
gun.
caveat that you're going to explain to us why in the world, when you already own this exact piece, you would need to buy another one
Another
days
one.
later.
Days later.
What I can
Days
tell you
later.
is, it was for writing. It was not to, as you would have it, murder my
But you
husband.
Why is
weren't
this for writing? What's the difference?
you weren't writing the story
Are
yet.
you tapping the ghost gun or are you tapping the full gun? That isn't for writing because that isn't the story.
Your Honor, at this point, if counsel's going to be aggressive, I would ask that he not have a gun.
What the difference is?
Okay, hold on a sec. I'm gonna allow him to hold the gun.
Explain to me what the difference is.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna allow him to hold the gun. Like, this is ridiculous. The defense attorney is a complete joke for even objecting with that. Like, that's come on. And she is completely frazzled. Nancy doesn't know what to do because she is just self snitching right now. She's slipping up because it's a lot. You have to remember all of these details, right? So it's a lot to remember and keep track of, and all these lies. Because when you're telling the truth, you're telling the truth. This is what it is, this is what happened. But when you're lying and you have to remember all of these lies in your head, that's why I don't lie, because I can't, for me to try to keep all those storylines together, it's not going to work. I already know that. And that's why I'm just like, it is what it is. I am brutally honest on the opposite end. Oh, this is funny.
This piece right here that I'm pointing to, the slide barrel that you removed yourself,
Mhm.
and the one that you bought on eBay.
I thought we just went through that.
You're telling me you couldn't use this for writing.
No, that was the end piece. That was for protection. The other was for research.
Right. It's ridiculous that she
So
thinks
at this
that
point, you spent over $1,000 in guns and gun parts. Is that right?
when they are like that.
By the time you buy the eBay slide and barrel,
But they don't have
you're
money to
upwards
spend
around
on
$1,500.
this.
About.
About.
Your attorney seemed to indicate that you happened upon the eBay slide and barrel.
Yes?
Just a pop-up ad.
Happened
No, it
upon.
wasn't pop-up ad.
That's what she said.
Well, if that's what she said, then I probably said that to her at one point or another. But it wasn't something that, the slide and barrel was a, did you say that?
Look, and you can't talk to your
Uh,
attorney on the
I didn't
stand.
happen upon it. At the point that I decided I wanted to do this, I tend to be impulsive, and I bought it because I wanted it.
Did you? Did you? Did you?
Where is it?
I have no idea. If you'd asked me on the day of my arrest, I would have told you that it was either in the house or it was either in storage. I haven't seen it for months and months and months and months.
Perfect timing,
So,
prosecution.
You just
Where
bought it in
is it?
February and got it at the very last day of February, right? February 28th?
could be.
Where is it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not looking at my numbers, notes.
You didn't lose this gun.
No.
You didn't lose the gun kit.
He is so
The gun kit went
frazzled.
to the police. The gun went to the police. I didn't have to worry about packing that.
Ms. Brophy, I'm talking about the time leading up to the murder.
Oh, all right. No, I knew where it was.
You knew where the ghost gun was.
You knew
It was
where
on
it
the floor of my
was.
closet.
You knew where that gun was.
Yes. And I would tell you that the slide was on the floor of my closet next to the ghost gun.
Sitting on the floor.
Mhm.
Just like literally sitting on the floor.
Well, it wasn't in the middle. It was tucked behind, next to, rather than behind, next to an armoire I had in the closet.
Okay. When's the last time you saw it?
That's what I was saying. I can't remember. I have no idea when the last time I saw it was. I know that I messed with it in February. I know I messed with it in March, but I can't remember seeing it after that.
She has no idea.
Why didn't you
She
make
has
an
no idea.
attempt to locate it and mark it for the police like you did the ghost gun?
I stumbled across the ghost gun when I was packing. That's why I marked the box. In my mind, I had a list of things I thought the police might come back and ask me for, and I thought the ghost gun would be among them.
So pause. So they don't know. Still to this day, they don't know where the slide and barrel is, and where is it? Is a great question. If I had to guess, where I think the slide and barrel is, she tossed it directly after the murder. Like she didn't even go home and then try to toss it later or get rid of it at some point. She tossed it immediately after the murder. So right after she killed Dan, she went and then she tossed it and that was that was it. And who knows where, probably in I don't know the geography too well of Oregon or Portland or anything like that, but I would assume there's some bodies of water nearby that, she was able to toss it into, or maybe even just a trash can because it's a slide and barrel. So I think that's easily disposed of. So that's my guess if I had to guess.
Do you see the irony in not being able to locate that and that being the allegation that that was the murder weapon?
You know, I see nothing ironic about this case at all. I see nothing happy about this case at all.
Right.
You're aware that the police searched your storage unit,
I am?
your pods,
Yes?
your house?
Yes?
You're aware that they even opened up your appliances inside your house to search for
I was
guns?
not aware of that.
Okay.
Yes.
You would agree that you previously written about hiding.
And she probably
weapons inside
loved
closets,
that.
correct? One of your books?
Maybe, but I don't remember that.
Okay. Are you aware that they even opened up a wall to search for a gun?
Yes, they did it after the house went into 8 months. After they had gotten the search warrant, they went back with a new search warrant just before it closed.
So they did all that searching,
Mm-hmm.
got the ghost gun,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find the slide and barrel from eBay.
Mm-hmm.
But you stored a lot of stuff in your niece's basement, didn't you?
I did. But the stuff I stored in my niece's basement happened after the police were finished with the house. That was everything that was at the end. So the police had either looked at it or they hadn't.
She got rid of that slide and barrel.
You didn't store anything anywhere else before your arrest?
No,
And you're sure
But she's trying to act like
nothing went to your niece's house?
I'm positive
you
nothing
can't
went from
find
my
it
niece's house.
anyway.
Until
Who
after.
knows
Wait,
what happened
wait, let me
to
back up just a minute because there's a fact here. Susan had left some clothes. For a while, they had been.
The way she pauses and says, "Wait, let me back up because there's some facts here." It like that is a telltale indicator that that part is the truth and the rest is a lie. Like if you're gonna say, "Hold on, wait a minute," there's some facts here. That's 100% you just trying to distract from what's really a lie.
Sarah's house before Dan died. And I'm going to say maybe as long as a year before Dan died, I went and got all the boxes that Susan had left and put them in our storage building so that when Susan came, I was able to give those to her sister and she took them home. So I have had things stored at Sarah's house in the past.
You know, like you just said, that the police were very interested in the slide and barrel from eBay, right?
I know that from the testimony and from the hearings we've had.
You have the discovery.
I have the discovery.
Here, I have a matter for the court.
All right, let's have the jury step out for just 1 minute.
Okay.
Oh, I need to stand up.
So yeah, her camera, I mean her mic is still on. So she was like, "Oh, do I have to stand up for the jury?" It's like, "Yes, you do." But there's a matter for the court. That's what the defense attorney just said. So they're on break now for like the next 6 minutes or so. And then she has like a little bit of a, commentary, and then they go on morning break. I think she ends up just talking about she talks about driving to shoot the gun. She talks about Dan's routine. And she tried to say that they do work together, and it's like, what are you talking about? You guys never really worked together, but just trying to say that they were true partners in crime. I may show that part in the next video because I think this is actually a good place to end this one, and then I'll pick up the next one, and that is only I want to say like another 45 minutes or so. So that will go quickly. So I'll just do it as one little quick video and end it there. But Nancy Brophy, Dan was such a great guy, and it's so unfortunate when you see these people that, like, for instance, like Dan, and listen, he's probably not a perfect human being, no one is, right? But he was a great person in the sense of he gave back to his community. You could see his students really loved him. No one really had a bad thing to say about him. He's one of those people where it's like he does seem like a genuine loss to society. And he gave his life to this woman. And granted, I think it was their second marriages. I know Nancy was previously married, and I think Dan was previously married. Yes, he was, because the way Nancy's like, yeah, he didn't cheat on me, he cheated on his ex. Like, I was like, okay, well, I wish he cheated on you because you're a horrible person. But he gave his life to this woman, and the way she disrespected him and killed him, and also just disrespected his legacy, the way she talks about him, the way she you could see there's really no passion there for him. It's just like she's going through the motions, and that's why she can sit on the stand for hours and hours and hours and laugh and joke and have all these different emotions, where it's like I would be on that stand like, let's stay focused, okay? Because I want to talk about the fact that I was not there. I will go through every detail of that day and say and explain to you how I was not there and not involved in my husband's murder. But anyway, she obviously was involved, so she just tries to gloss over a lot of those things. And I think we will end it here, and then tomorrow, well, I'm not going to specifically say tomorrow. At some point, I'm going to post the next part, and then we will be done with Nancy's cross-examination. But I definitely think her cross-examination is one of my favorites because it's just her inability to uh keep up with her own story that she wove, because she gets caught in so many lies, like, was Dan there when she wasn't there was there? And I think that's part of the routine stuff, so maybe we will cover it in the beginning of the next video, since that will be a shorter one. Alrighty. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that I actually have a following and people listening to me and subscribers. So thank you guys so much for subscribing. If there is something that, or a case that you guys are like interested in, maybe I might peek into it. But I have like a few that I want to go through. I definitely want to hit the Adelsons, as I mentioned before. Murdoch is coming up on the year anniversary of sentencing, and especially with everything that recently happened with the um the county clerk. um I definitely want to address some of those things, and I want to also talk about some other cases where I'm not going to say it yet, but just some cases that have been very popular, but I feel like not talked about as much. But yeah, so it was a good one, and I'll see you guys again soon. Adios.